I didn't know that it's possible to like go international. Like you work for a US company
Yep.
while work in Malaysia and getting paid in USD. I'm like, oh, that's crazy. Hi, welcome back to another second episode of Ice Cream Podcast. And today I have someone interesting, but yeah, I wanted to interview him. And without further ado, hello, Eric.
Hello. Hi,
Yeah.
Jasmine.
So this is Eric, and Eric, would you mind to give us some introduction, who you are, and
Yep.
yeah, a little bit more about yourself that we should know.
Oh, okay. My name's Eric. I'm the founder and CEO of Malaysia Digital Districts, which is essentially an integrated network of 5 tech ecosystems across Malaysia, connecting local digital services, products, and talent from across the country to businesses around the world. So very nice to meet all of you. I'm happy to be here today,
Yeah.
Jasmine.
As usual, since it's ice cream podcast, so we must have an ice cream with us. Is it chocolate vanilla? Oh yeah, it's chocolate vanilla.
How do we do
And
this?
how?
Do we eat along the way?
Yeah, you can eat
Right,
along the way.
while I'm talking, it's so good. Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So where did you like study before? Let's just give a
Wow,
little bit
going
of
way back.
throwbacks.
Yeah. So I guess I started out studying law. Wow, that's over a decade ago. That's right, 2019. So I'm starting to feel old.
Don't make it obvious.
Oh, right. You can't tell, right? And so I started working as a lawyer in KL, and I did a bit of my training there. But I realized pretty quickly that maybe it wasn't something for me because studying was okay, but working as a lawyer was a different story. I then did my first master's in law just to buy myself a bit of time to kind of explore other options.
Okay.
And I went off to do my second master's in public policy because that was something I felt quite passionate about.
You did like 2 masters?
Yeah, I did.
Oh
Yeah,
wow.
I know. I was just trying to buy a bit of time and like figure my way.
Trying to figure out what is it
Right.
you actually want.
Yeah, because like you go around asking for speaking to different people and advice, but it's quite um, limited at that point beyond just the traditional career industries, a lawyer, architect, doctor, etc. And it didn't quite align with what I was looking for. I wanted something big. I wanted something that had national level impact and something that could change the country. So I felt that perhaps policy would be it. Then I did a bit of, once I completed my master's, I then came back and then I worked in Singapore and consulting for a bit. I felt a bit disillusioned there because there really wasn't very much for me to do or contribute in Singapore. Then subsequently, I joined Facebook as a public policy manager for about 4.5 years. And so uh, last 2 Decembers ago, 2021, I left and then I started Malaysia Digital Districts, which was really a project that was something that we started out while I was at Meta, and then I continued it from there. Yeah.
So what is MDD actually? What is
Yep.
what is Malaysia Digital District?
Yeah.
What does it do? And
Yeah, maybe I'll give a bit of background about this because, a couple of years ago when I was running, trying to drive some programs, upskilling programs across Malaysia, what I noticed was that our tech ecosystem in Malaysia is actually quite fragmented. You've got your federal level, led by the government agencies, your MDEX, previously Magix, Cradle, etc. And then as a result of fragmentation, everyone's kind of siloed doing their own thing. There's no real coordination. We can't measure impact. We can't see whether or not, as a country, we are moving forward. We can just run programs and shoot in the dark and hopefully guess that the country is moving forward. Then that leads to tackling the second issue, which is the lack of high-skilled and high-income jobs across Malaysia outside of KL. So that's something that I think is an acute problem. Whenever you want like a white-collar corporate job kind of thing, people would have to go to either Singapore or KL. And I think that needs to change, and the opportunity now is with digital. And so how do we then create these high-skilled, high-income jobs across the different cities in Malaysia? The opportunity now is to use remote work as well as digital types of services and roles. In order to do that, our approach is to export digital services, digital products, and digital talents from across Malaysia to companies outside the world. And the reason for that is that locally our ringgit is not that great, and also the market is very small. So if we just target local, very hard to grow. We should be targeting the world.
I'm quite amazed how you have the thought to like, let's bring our talents up. Let's give them more opportunities. But how did that came through your mind back then?
I come from Sabah. I'm a KK boy. And growing up here, I've got many friends. But at a certain point, when we all go our different paths, you start to realize that some have opportunities that others don't. And particularly if they don't have like a family business and all, it gets a bit tricky because then they don't have limited access to like white collar jobs. I felt that was a bit odd. And I kind of also felt like, all right, I'm in a point in my career. So I spent my 20s kind of figuring out what I wanted to do. But in my 30s, I then started to realize, I'm at a point in my career where I've accumulated enough experiences, skills, networks, and resources to be able to do something more. If I just, coasted around and just did a corporate job, kind of do 9 to 5 kind of thing, yeah, I can do that, but what else is there? What is the point, right? Is it just to like live a comfortable life? And this is a bit deeper, a bit more esoteric, like what is the meaning of life, right? Is it just to earn a salary and live comfortably, raise a family, and that's it?
But if you were in that path, it's like the same routine every single day, like
right, yeah,
9 to 5.
yeah, and it's come to a point where I kind of feel like I'm in a fortunate position that I need to use all these resources that I have to do something more than just live a comfortable life, and I feel a sense of responsibility as well, because there are others who have not been as fortunate as I have, but they are good, they are talented, just that the opportunities are not there where they are, which is really unfair and it's really unfortunate. So we also then saw during the pandemic that we can't necessarily, not even before the pandemic also, they can't necessarily just depend on the government to do everything for us, right? We sit around, our situation's unfortunate, hopefully like new government change, and then you'll just wait till next election after that. What we realized during the pandemic is the whole really kita jaga kita kind of situation, like we have to take it into our own hands and drive things ourselves. As long as we don't need like approval from government or permit or funding, everything else we can do ourselves. So why do we need to wait for government to fix this whole country? We can do it. So then, then I came across like-minded people who also are trying to do their own things in their respective cities and states. And eventually everything started to click together. And I felt, I'm actually an introvert, so I don't really do external engagements and all of that. But I felt I needed to challenge myself and step up and to become almost like an ecosystem leader kind of thing, which is not typical of my characteristic, but I felt I needed to do that. And so I had to sort of build things up, talk to people, bring them in, and set up the whole system and drive it.
Rihanna said, "Fake it till you make it." But now that you're doing this and that, and then you said you're introvert, are you doing it naturally now, or you're still like, okay, it's time to change? Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of like, you said Rihanna, now I'm like Beyonce. I've got like my Sasha Fierce going on. They thought I'm just going to hide in my bedroom and like sleep or cry myself to sleep. No. No. I think it's okay now. It's okay now. I do enjoy engaging with people, but it takes energy out of me.
Yeah. What are the industries that you guys are focusing on for MDD for now?
And so in terms of digital services, it will be software development, creative and design, such as like illustration, branding, etc. And then digital marketing. So these are the three basic type of services that we'll be focused on. Next layer, we will then look at, say, data analytics, cloud computing, machine learning, etc. But even with these three services, we see an abundance of companies across the 5 cities, and we're currently working towards onboarding about, say, 150 of these digital service providers, which will then help to market them outside of the country and bring in projects and increase revenue for them.
I heard you mention about remote job.
Yep.
So what is remote job actually? In case our audience don't know what is remote job.
Right. Yeah. So it's a bit different. I think, it comes from this whole trend of remote work that we've seen being normalized and also standardized during the pandemic, whereby everyone is no longer confined to
Yeah.
just working in an office. You can work from anywhere. So now the question is, how do we then take this further? Do we then need to be limited to the jobs and roles in Malaysia? Not necessarily. With remote jobs and remote working, we can actually work for companies outside of Malaysia. And there could be multiple legal structures that we can work out along the way to work that out. So one such structure is to then, for instance, be hired by a local entity in Malaysia and then seconded to another company working outside of Malaysia. And then you'll earn essentially a foreign currency equivalent, US dollars or other currencies. Conversely, Malaysian talent is actually in demand because we can language capabilities in English, critical thinking, and also we're quite educated. Stands us in good stead to as a valuable talent pool for companies around the region. For instance, like in Hong Kong, Singapore, and so on and so forth. And therefore, and also on top of that, in terms of cost of labor, it's actually more competitive compared to salary levels in, say, Hong Kong and other markets where the cost of operations, cost of living is much higher. So then you can leverage the currency arbitrage and get really good value for money by hiring Malaysians, talented Malaysians. And they need not be based in KL. They can be based in KK, Kuching, Penang, Johor.
Back then, I didn't know that it's possible to like go international. Like you work for a US company
Yep.
while work in Malaysia and getting paid in USD. I'm like, oh, that's crazy.
But it's happening. Yeah.
Yeah. So listen, and okay. So basically, MDD is doing something like it offers remote job opportunities to the digital talents and
Yep.
also offer like services outside like
Yeah. So we look at it 2 ways. Well, 3 ways, right? One is digital services, digital talents, and also digital products. So for digital services, it's really marketing our companies, digital service providers, the software development, creative design, digital marketing firms outside of Malaysia, and bring in those projects and that are also in USD, and then the cost basis in ringgit. So then it helps to grow the local companies who can then increase, once they increase the revenue, hopefully they also create jobs for locals. That's one. Then digital talents is that perhaps they can, for local talents also, they can be connected with remote jobs outside of Malaysia directly and start earning in foreign currency while operating here. But on that point also, it requires kind of a bit of an end-to-end pipeline that we need to create. It just doesn't happen on its own organically. One, on the talent side, we need to put in place the right upskilling programs. And there's so many programs out there in the market. There's so many gurus. So we pick those programs that are essentially kind of the gold standard. They have to be kind of from the authoritative sources. For instance, Blueprint.
sorry, the upscaling program is for the digital talents.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
So you guys will be providing the program, something like that, or to help them to
Yep.
find the programs.
Yeah. So we
Okay.
work with the various coding schools across Malaysia, including like General Assembly, Elevate Academy, AirAsia Academy, and they would then train up their students and then funnel them to us into our database. And from there, we then match them, and then sorry, that's on the supply side. Then demand side, we then need to go and find these jobs from outside of Malaysia to really sell and market them to various partners, then bring them in and start matching them together. So we have to work both demand and supply together. So I guess in a way it's democratizing access to economic opportunities for everyone.
Yeah, and also like to counter the unemployment issue that we have in Malaysia quite a
Yeah,
lot.
yeah.
Because we have a lot of, these people who graduates and years after years still not doing what they're supposed to do.
Yes, yeah.
So I'm like,
The problem in Malaysia is not unemployment, it's underemployment.
yeah.
Yeah, because then they have to, you work and you graduate in like computer science, engineering, blah, 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 and then end up working as Grab driver.
Yeah.
And then they take up jobs that are not commensurate with their skill levels only because there aren't sufficient high skilled, high income jobs in Malaysia that they have to kind of, resort to that. But with remote jobs now, we can try and address that issue.
Yeah, because I think in my opinion, I still feel like what we're lacking actually is the exposure towards remote job, that it's possible for you to just work from where you are, because I think it has been a thing overseas but not like in
Yeah.
our society.
Yeah, completely understand. So it is incumbent on us and other ecosystem partners to be able to create this pipeline, make it as easy as possible for them to know what they need to do to get a job and funnel them to it. If they're kind of scrambling on their own, perhaps they might feel it's an uphill task. But if we're able to kind of create a pipeline, make it easy for them and socialize it and make it a norm, then I think, we're moving towards a very good direction.
And speaking of remote job, your current job, are you working remotely?
Yeah, I'm kind of working fully remote in the sense that everything's online. And what I do is that I move from city to city across Malaysia. So there's 5 cities I mentioned. So I'll spend 1 week in, say, Penang, then Johor, Sabah, Sarawak. And KL is my base, but I can move around very easily.
It's I mean, it's fun to like go around, but it's kind of tiring too.
Yes, but ecosystem building
Yeah.
requires not only communicating virtually, but also I need to come to the ground and work with our ecosystem partners like Viceroy, yourself, and
Yeah.
push things along and make sure we're moving along. Yeah.
When there's a will, there's a way.
Yes, it's tiring, but I'm also energized by it because I see a lot of these ecosystem builders. They're also working very hard. Viceroy is, working hard. Likewise in Johor and the other cities, and you can also see the passion that they have for their cities, and they want to do more. So I feel energized by their motivation, their drive, and I feel like I have a lot to contribute as well. So.
Your first job, did you know that you can actually work remotely? Did you know about remote jobs?
I guess, my first real experience of it was when I joined Facebook, Meta, because my team wasn't even in Malaysia. So from day one, it was all in Singapore and other countries. So I could kind of run around, I guess, from day one. And it was fully remote, so whether I came into office or not, no one cares. As long as I reply,
So
it's
in
online.
like that time you were in KL, is it? Was
Yeah.
it?
Yeah.
So you were in KL.
At first, I thought this is a bit odd. Like, I don't have a team. Poor me, I'm so alone. But after you got used to it, it's like, yeah, all right.
So, but do you guys still have an office
Meta, yes, in KL.
in KL? But were you like the only one, or?
Back then, yeah, I was the only one. In terms of like the public policy team, there were other team members, but you don't really work with them. Yeah.
So there are few people in the office. It's just that for your department, you're
Yeah.
alone,
Yeah.
and the rest of them are in Singapore.
Yeah, in other countries. So, I guess it became a norm for me. So when COVID hit, I was quite already used to working remotely anyway. But I guess now, how do we take that one step further to create those opportunities for everyone else here in Malaysia?
I just had a thought, like,
Yeah.
um, people working remotely. And you worked for Singapore, right? Before, I mean, your company was in Singapore.
Yeah, it's headquartered in Singapore, but it's from US. Yeah.
Yeah, and then that got me thinking, do they have some kind of, here we call it EPF?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, something like that. Do they have it like when you work in Singapore, something like that?
It
Or you
depends on
have to
the
do it on your own?
arrangement, right? So when I was at Meta and also currently I'm with AWS, it's yeah, you're hired out a local entity in Malaysia, but then the team is in Singapore. So
Oh,
EPF, yeah, that's fine. If we're kind of then doing a model whereby you're working for another client outside of Malaysia, then that's a commercial arrangement that the talent will need to sort of discuss with the employer.
okay.
It could also be kind of in lieu of EPF, it could also be a bit of a top up added onto the salary, base salary.
Then
And
you
I
have to do it on your own.
yeah, yeah.
Something like
Some
that.
some companies also do that. So there could be multiple arrangements, but ultimately it's between the talent as well as the company.
Yeah, cause I remember I used to be one of those people who question like,
Right.
so if I were to work outside, do I get something like what Malaysia has, like the EPF, the one that can
Because
help me?
EPF, you can also do self contributions, right?
Yeah,
So yeah,
self-contribution.
you collect it when you're EPF yourself. That,
You
that
just
works
need
as
to
well.
you just
Yeah.
need to have a little bit more effort.
Yeah.
Now I'm curious, when you said you worked with Facebook before. I mean, how did you get like to work with Facebook?
Oh,
Because
I
it's like,
guess you interview with everyone else. But you
was it
know,
was it hard though?
there were about eight interviews. Yeah.
Like 8 times every interview?
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, I just need to be prepared for it. Yeah.
Okay, so before we wrap things up, Eric, do you have anything to say?
Sure. What I'd say is that this year and moving forward, it's going to be an exciting time for Malaysia. Not only in that we've got a new government and kind of maybe a new direction for the country, but also that this is a time as the whole country is economically emerging from COVID as well.
With the
That
new government?
new government, like it is exciting and it creates a lot of opportunities for us. And as a private sector and people in community as well, there are a lot of things that we can do on our own to also drive things, and independently or in collaboration with the government and other stakeholders. But it is an exciting time for Malaysia, and I really do believe that if as a country we kind of course, there are a lot of political hurdles and all that. We kind of come together a bit more and work together. Yeah, we're going to create something really exciting.
And I really hope MDD can help, help all these digital talents, companies to bring Malaysia more in terms of economics, and also give more opportunities in terms of job to counter the unemployment issues. And you guys make sure to watch this video because you need to expose yourself more on remote jobs. You can actually get a job if you have an effort. So yeah, that's about it. That's the time we have with Eric for this podcast. We're gonna be doing some fun games. Did I tell you that?
Oh, I thought ice cream was the game, but okay. Okay.
If you guys want to watch that, go to our TikTok and yeah, and don't forget to subscribe this YouTube channel. And see you in the next video.
See ya. Isn't that the same?
Like, you can have a phone but without an internet.
What? Why would we have a phone without internet?
Exactly. So
Internet.
okay.